Well, welcome back to Better Living. I'm here with Kathy from the Foundation Park Alzheimer's Care Center. We were just discussing that I have a grandfather with Alzheimer's, and it's a really challenging disease to watch someone you love go through.
It's a long process sometimes, and watching someone decline like that can be very devastating for a family.
It's really hard. It's hard, and I think this time of year, it's really hard.
It's even harder. Yeah.
So what do you do if you need, I guess, what do you do if you need to admit someone to Foundation Park? What's the first step? And if, like in our case, what do we need? It took a long time to convince my grandmother, who lives in another state, but it took a long time to convince her that she could not care for my grandfather anymore.
That's
so
not unusual.
How do we get the other partner convinced that you really need to admit them to Foundation Park?
Well, usually when someone is admitted to a nursing home, they probably should have been admitted months before.
Yes.
The primary caregiver, be it a wife or a daughter or family, is going to become very tired. It's a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week job. Usually when we see them, things like incontinence have now become a problem, or wandering, getting up at night. You don't know if they're going to leave the house, or have they left the house and not been able to come back. Those are the things that family members finally sit down and say, hey, you can't do it anymore. We need to place them somewhere. Yeah.
So what can you do to not get to that point? We got to a point where there was an alarm on the front door, and honestly, it took her getting a terrible germ from him that put her in the hospital emergency room and ended up in surgery that got us to that point. How can you make it stop before it gets to that point?
Unfortunately, sometimes you can't. Sometimes, you know, spouses have been together so long and they've promised each other, I'm not going to do that to you. And so they usually go beyond what they can do. So it takes an event. Someone getting ill, I can't take care of you anymore, something happening to the person with the disease that puts them in hospital, and at that point social service steps up and says, nope, we're not going to let them go home. Yeah.
What's the first step? Do we come see you at Foundation Park? Is it a physician that makes that referral?
The first step is thinking about it. The second step is going out and looking at lots of different nursing homes, Foundation Park being one, getting a feel for what you see when you walk in the door. Are there smells? Is it clean? Do people appear to be well taken care of? Do they appear to be happy? Is there staffing? But visit lots of places. Just visit as many as you possibly can. Once you decide that this is it and we now have to do it, we have a marketing person, a mission person who you would contact, and they would walk you through step by step right from there.
So Foundation Park is an Alzheimer's care center. What makes that different from a typical nursing home?
We do nothing but deal with dementias, Alzheimer's being one of them. We do all cognitively impaired residents. So I don't have someone who's 90 and just kind of frail and needs a little help. Everyone has the cognitive impairment. My staff, from nursing staff to dietary to maintenance, are trained in how to communicate and how to care for someone with a disease.
Does that mean that perhaps in your nursing facility then too, you have a different age range than perhaps other nursing homes or typical nursing homes? Or is dementia mainly an elderly disease?
It's mainly elderly, yeah. My population right now is, the majority is from, I would say, 75 to 90, yeah.
How do you care for the more difficult resident, the one who is consistently trying to leave or is combative because they're confused?
Understanding that behavior has meaning. So if they're trying to leave, where are they trying to go? Do we want to go home? Do we need to go to work? Is my husband waiting for me? I've got to get home and make dinner. And we use something called validation therapy. If that's what you feel is going on, that's what we're going to deal with you on. If a resident says, I've got to go, my husband's waiting for me, I've got to get dinner on the table, I usually say something along the lines of, you know what? He's not going to make it home for dinner. You're going to stay with us, and then after dinner, we'll get home. By that time, they're on to something else and have forgotten about it. So it's redirection, validating where they are. People can become combative or aggressive. A lot of that is they don't understand what we're trying to help them with. So staff are trained to go slow, be kind, talk in a soft voice, make them feel comfortable.
And I think that kindness goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
Not only with the resident, but with the family members as well.
Oh, most definitely, definitely. Residents will reach a point where they become very comfortable with us and they don't want to leave. Family members are always a little leery, uncomfortable. Nobody ever wants to be in a nursing home.
Right.
Nobody ever wants to place someone in a nursing home. And it's very hard and you feel very guilty.
I will say, though, it is comforting as someone who has a family member in a nursing home in another state. It is comforting to me to watch how kindly my grandfather is treated. And so I appreciate the work that people like you all at Foundation Park Alzheimer's Care Center do.
Oh, well, thank
Greatly
you.
appreciate it, especially at the holidays. If someone wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way? Is it to call?
Call.
Okay, and that phone number?
Is 419-385-3958.
All right, we'll get with Foundation Park Alzheimer's Care Center today if you are in need for a loved one. We'll be right back.